Hi, everyone. It's Marcy here from PNS and Nina, and I'm very excited today to have Kevin Donahue from the Greater Rochester Chamber of Commerce. I always want to say Rochester first and forget the greater, but it is Greater Rochester Chamber of Commerce. Kevin,
Yes.
thank you so much for joining us today.
I appreciate you having me. Thanks so much for reaching out.
Absolutely. So, as we talked about a little bit before we get on here, I think people don't really understand or know what a chamber does. Can you tell us a little bit about what the chamber actually does? What is your mission, your goal?
Absolutely. And I'll preface it by saying, there's so many different types of chambers. Certainly, the ultimate goal for chambers is to help the constituents in their territory grow, help them grow their business. The means at which they do so varies heavily depending on the specific chamber, the specific community you're in. But the goal is there's a lot of great people in the chamber community, and they're there and invested in your business to help it grow and help strategize with you on, how you can take benefit from their specific chamber, from the assets in your community, and truly work on your behalf to try and get you where you need to go.
So, when it comes to chambers, let's talk about, I think some people think, what we talked about, big business, corporations. Why should I, as a small business or solopreneur, entrepreneur, like what benefit would it hold for me?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and we get that a lot. And honestly, a lot of times I'll proactively bring that up. So we've got about 1,300 members in our chamber, and certainly, a lot of the big, well-known companies in the community are absolutely members of ours, and oftentimes on our board. But the chamber at large is very much a microcosm of Greater Rochester, which, as I'm sure you know, is comprised of majority small businesses by any definition. So even if you're looking 100 under, that's 85% of our membership. And if you go down to 10 and fewer, that's almost 40% of our membership. And again, very much in alignment with what Greater Rochester as a community offers. But I'll add on to this. A lot of times the larger companies join because they believe in the mission of the chamber. They're there to help, make sure that the chamber is funded and supported and use their respective influence and gravitas to help move the policy agenda items that we need moved forward. But candidly, they may not engage with us the same way that small businesses are. So you have to have these very large, influential members engaged with your chamber to help move needles, to help make sure that the chamber's policy agenda and influence is, strong in all various corners and circles of the region, to make sure that we're advocating. And that advocacy oftentimes is influenced based on the feedback that we get from small businesses. It's not easy, to do business in this region or any region for that matter. So, the small businesses sometimes are very fragile in terms of, the needs that they have, the time that they have to spend. And we want to make sure that, we're diverse and listening to their needs. And oftentimes those big businesses help support moving that needle along, and very crucial part of any chamber.
Well, what I love you talked about a little bit there for a minute, and I want to jump in, is that resources outside of just the networking are, our Rochester Chamber has, a legislative breakfast or lunch where you can go and talk to a legislator and talk about what's going on. And that's so critical for small business to have some sort of say in policy, right? Because so much of it affects what we do. So I do love that piece of it as well, is that it's not just about networking, it's about being involved in policy or speaking to your local chamber. I know here, when we were talking about some new rules for the remote online notarization piece, Bob Duffy, who's that, head guy over at the chamber, was like, hey, Marcy, if you need something from us, like, just let me know. Happy to pass it along for you. Who can we get in touch with for you? Like, there was certainly that feeling of, okay, this is great. There's someone else there to advocate on my behalf when I thought, I needed some assistance, and who do I talk to? Where do I direct? That's a big thing for small business. Would you agree with that?
100%. And I appreciate you bringing up that story. First of all, we're very lucky to have Bob, and I think his stance on advocacy has been, extremely helpful. Not that we didn't do it before, but I think he's gone out of his way. And your example is a case in point to reinforce that advocacy isn't always about a broad-based legislative topic. Certainly, we have a fully fleshed out policy agenda, but advocacy oftentimes is just, how can we help you specifically? Do you need an introduction? Can we write a letter of support? Are you not quite sure where to go? Certainly, most elected officials, you can reach out to them directly, but oftentimes it's maybe, who should I go to for this? I've already reached out. Can you help lend a hand to amplify my voice? Advocacy has a lot of different looks and feels, and I think a lot of times it does get stuck into that lobbying policy category, which again, part and parcel about what we do, but we have a ton of conversations with small business owners on very niche, specific things to their organization that might not impact anyone else, but it's a good part of our day to day. And honestly, it's one of the best parts about our job. I don't lead advocacy, but oftentimes I might be the conduit to get that to our policy team or to Bob. And it could be something very simple like, hey, my liquor license showed up with a typo, or my MWB certification seems to be stuck in Albany somewhere, or, the village is proposing a new ordinance that might impact my business. And, we're happy to engage on those. We'll always be candid in terms of, how well positioned we are or what we anticipate the success might be, but we're here to listen and help strategize with you. And I think sometimes that gets lost in maybe a list of services. So I'll leave, the point being, reach out to your chamber, ask them, say, hey, I need help. How can you help me? And most of them will be very happy to try and do so.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a huge part for us. And there's the other, I talk about periphery sort of things. There's, just staying in the loop. There's great information that comes out in the newsletter that tells us what's going on, what you guys are working on, things that are working on in the community, events we can sponsor, how we can advertise to get the word out about our business, um, you know, volunteer opportunities, right? So last year I was a judge in the Civics B essays for I think eighth graders it was, and I'm doing it again this year. It was a
Great.
fun thing to do and read. People laugh when I say that, but sometimes it's hard to find quick little volunteer opportunities as a small business owner that I want to get involved with in my community. And I'm not really sure, but maybe I don't have this, ongoing ability to. It's so nice that the chamber offers those things to us as well. So I can give back to the community and it's not something that I have to, donate years of time worth. And it's just fun to see. And so I love that about the chamber too, is that it's not just about that business building piece, which it is, but it's also giving back to the community at the same time, allowing us to be involved, right?
I agree. I mean, I've been at the chamber for quite some time. And, I think even before my time here, I think chambers were a primary source for commerce, as you would imagine. I have a widget to sell. I'm going to go to my chamber event to look for a customer for my widget. And yes, that is absolutely still, an opportunity within network, but networking has such a broad meaning. It's to your point, maybe connect so I can volunteer and give back. Maybe I'm trying to grow my professional network just for sheer education and, broader awareness of the community and the different economic development ties that are moving the kind of cogs of commerce around. And or just, hey, I'm looking for talent for my organization, or different perspective on changes in compliance or labor laws or anything along those lines. I think building your professional network can serve a multitude of purposes and benefits. And we try to think of ourselves as that community that, yeah, come and check out an event. They're not all the same by design. Some, we allow people to just network and do their things. Others, that's not their favorite format. So maybe they need a little more structure or agenda. So, maybe we'll shrink that down and allow them to do that for 10, 15 minutes and then, maybe get some instruction or insight into a specific topic. But the goal being, we hope you leave with some sort of insight into your community, your fellow attendees and members, or, maybe a important topic we felt you needed to be aware about.
Well, and what was great about what you said is, talking about not only building your business and bring your business to the table, but utilizing other businesses who are part of the chamber, right? How many times am I like, oh my gosh, I need to get a new accountant or a copier guy, or I don't really know anything about health insurance, right? When you're an entrepreneur, a small business owner, you're kind of that jack of all trades, and you're like, hopefully you get to the point where like I can hire other people to the piece. Like, where do I find an HR person? Where do I find a payroll company? That's a great place to find those resources, right? Is your chamber. That's the first
It's
place we always look.
It's true. And, networking isn't just about even coming to the event. Yes, certainly come to the event, but if you're on the lookout for a vendor of some kind, call your chamber anyway, even if you can't go to the events, even if you're not even a member of the chamber and you want to do business with someone that is a member of the chamber, they will happily help you out. Hey, I need a printer. I'm doing some signs. Okay, here's a list. Most chambers directories are open to the public to view. That's also by design. You don't need to be a member to view the list of chamber members. We want our members to be viewed by all. Even if it's not a good right timing for chamber membership, we'd still love you to consider doing business with our members. So yeah, that's we understand it's a time investment. We understand that small business owners and are limited on that in very, very big ways. So we want to supplement the networking events themselves with other ways to make those connections. And so it doesn't have to be limited to just physical attendance at the event.
And I think we talk about time investment, there's a cost too. And it's hard when you're a small business owner to decide where to put those dollars always, right?
Always.
So it's so funny because I belong to my local town chamber, which is super affordable, right? And then I belong to the Greater Rochester Chamber, which is a little more expensive. But what I love about the larger chambers is that sliding scale, right? Like, how many members do you have? How many employees do you have? Like, what is your business? And then there's that ability to pick the level that works for you, right? So maybe one year you can't be like in that top big giant level, but you start small in the little place and move forward.
Absolutely.
Would
Yeah,
you say
I
that?
think
Mhm.
most chambers are hopefully moving in that direction. There's not a one size fits all approach, and you can have a very robust membership tier with all the bells and whistles and justify the cost all day long. But if that specific business doesn't have the time or the ability to take advantage of those, it's a moot point. So we do have a tier specifically designed for micro businesses because that is an enormous population of this region. And also, kind of a hat that we hang our pride on, from entrepreneurs like Tom Golisano and George Eastman, like those started as micro businesses. And I think at least here at the Greater Rochester Chamber, we need to foster that wherever possible and make any, financial obstacles to getting engaged and included as minimal as possible.
So, what would you tell someone who was on the fence about joining their chamber, right? They've heard this, we've talked to them, we told them all of the benefits. They're like, well, I still don't know. What is the one key takeaway you would say as to why it's so important to be involved with your local chamber?
Yeah, I wish that was a very quick, easy answer, but and we had this discussion the other day. I think it's important to have a discussion with someone at the chamber about your business specifically. What is it you're looking to get out of your chamber? I'm looking to grow my business. I'm looking to, get additional clients, or is it I just feel unplugged and I'm not sure. I know what's going on in my immediate universe, but not what's going around me, or I've got some limited staff now, but I'm struggling a little bit with HR compliance and needs. What do I do? Or, my industry has been really impacted from a policy standpoint. Is there any updates? What's going on? This could impact me negatively. Any and all of those things are potential engagement points. And I think the most important dialogue is to have a discussion with someone at the chamber about, hey, this is where I'm at. How might the chamber fit into my current needs, my time ability, my staff, and start there. That's by design. You want to make sure, at least out of the gate, there's some mutual understanding of expectations on what you're each going to offer to the relationship, and then after that, I say take a leap, give it a shot. I think the chamber will be equally engaged to try and meet your needs and make sure that you're finding value. That first year is always, a very fragile year. We want to make sure folks are engaged, and we do a lot to stay in touch and make sure that first year no one's falling through the cracks and is starting to utilize services. And usually it's a great relationship. We really, there's a lot of great businesses and stories in this community, and we love having them part of our organization.
Well, I think that was a great wrap up to this because I do think it's important to be involved in these types of endeavors out here, right? And I would urge people, maybe it's not in your budget this year. Don't worry. I mean, it happens to the best of us. There are years where my budget is better than other years, right?
Yep.
Depending on what's going on in the economy. But it doesn't mean that you can't join and then move your membership around a year or maybe to drop out for a year and then come back. Certainly, chambers, especially the Rochester Chamber, has been very flexible with us in what we've gone through with interest rates in the housing market, how difficult it's been back and forth. And I think that's an important thing to say as well, is that there's flexibility here in what you can do, but certainly, as Kevin said, like there reach out, right? The worst that can happen is you have a conversation and you're like, okay, at this time it's not something that I can do. Maybe something down the road, right? That's open for possibilities then.
Absolutely. And you know, I'll kind of make this final point is if you decide to invest financially, also invest in other ways as too. Invest with your time, invest with, you know, some attention to the newsletters and communications, you know, read the material that's being presented and given to you. Those are the things that will deliver back the value of the chamber membership. And we always say that, yes, you know, if you can't come to an event, the chamber is working for you, which is 100% true. But I always find that folks take a few extra minutes to read our newsletter. You know, we know you're not going to read it comprehensively every single week, but there's a lot of intent and strategy that goes into the information that we're sharing. And, you know, we're hopeful that it's useful to the employers and they understand they have a resource and support network here.
Kevin, thank you so much for your time today. I so appreciate it. And for everyone out there, we're going to put in the links the information for the Greater Rochester Chamber of Commerce. Should you want to join, we'll also put in for the U.S. Chamber if you're not local to the Rochester area and want to find who or where your local chamber is. I appreciate everyone so much for taking your time out today. And I appreciate you, Kevin, so much for taking your time out. We certainly appreciate it so much.
Thank you, Marcy. And thanks for your longstanding membership. It's grateful for you.
I appreciate it. I hope you all have a great day out there. And as my staff always reminds me to say, because I never remember, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.